McLaurin, he's got it. Touchdown!
Robinson shakes loose and has a first down.
Eckler speeds out of there.
Touchdown, Jayden Daniels.
This is the Son of Washington podcast.
What's up, Redskins Nation? Ray Smith here. This is the Son of Washington podcast. Yeah, that's right. I said Redskins Nation. I guess it's actually Commanders Nation, but don't check your clock. Don't check your calendar. I know it's been a minute, but the Son of Washington podcast is so back. Again, my name's Ray. You can follow me on Twitter at ThisIsTheRay, where you'll find all sorts of great content of me just bloviating, going on and on about the Commanders, Jayden Daniels, gaming, entertainment, all sorts of stuff. You'll find it all there on my Twitter. Look, I'm going to be totally honest with you. It's been over 10 years since I've done any Redskins / Commanders content in podcast form. And I got to be honest with you, I'm just really excited to be back with you guys, to be talking about the team. We'll see kind of where this goes. This is day one. We just decided to pull the trigger. And so here we are, pulling the trigger, getting it going. We got all kinds of content that's coming for you guys. I'm still doing gaming content. I'm still going to be streaming gaming. But there's going to be some Commander streams, some Son of Washington live streams, Son of Washington live content on TikTok and Twitter and YouTube, shorts, reels, all the stuff. It's coming. So excited to have you here with us. But we got a ton to talk about in regards to Commanders Nation, Redskins Nation, Jayden Daniels Nation, whatever you talk about it. There's a ton going on. We got a team that's doing pretty good, I'd say. They have exceeded my expectations so far. I'm not sure what your expectations are, but we'll talk about all that as we get into it. But look, 4-1. Great start to the season. Unbelievable start to the season. Much better than anyone thought, including myself, if you've been following me on Twitter. Look, you guys know that I'm not always the most jolly, happy, fun. I've really tried to shake the homer kind of feel on this team. And a lot of that comes really from being on the beat with this team years and years and years ago. I got to tell you, back when this all started, I'll never forget our first credentialed event. We were covering the RG3 draft party press conference. It was the first thing that the Commanders organization, or back then the Redskins organization, had given us access to. And I'll never forget standing in the media pit, basically, where we were all standing under the main stage when Robert was addressing the fans, and the stadium is full of people. We're all standing on the field. There are dads with their sons. People are crying. It's emotional. It's a whole thing. And they're singing Hail to the Redskins. And as a fan, with all of the access in the world, you're just standing there and you're like, I want to sing this so bad, and I just can't. And that's my promise to you guys, is not that we're not going to be fans. It's not that I'm not a fan. Absolutely love this team. Watched 2 Super Bowls for this team when I was very young. Vividly remember 1991 sitting on my dad's lap. But I want to bring you access content that is just raw and honest. And so those of you guys that follow me on Twitter, you know that when they're doing bad in a game, I'm going to tell you. When they're doing good in a game, I'm going to tell you. Like, I'm not one of those negative clickbait accounts. We're not going to be doing that. We don't have an agenda here, unlike the majority of the DC sports media market. And I'm talking about people like the Washington Post and the Washington Times, who once upon a time tried to sue us to get rid of the access that we had to the Redskins organization. It's a long time ago, water under the bridge. But the reality of it is we want to give you guys the most unfiltered, unbiased, good or bad look. And that's what we're doing. So I went into the season not super excited. I'll be honest with you. The Jayden Daniels hype coming out of the draft was real. Obviously the kid had a Heisman season his last year in college football. But for me, size was a concern. It's still somewhat of a concern. Question marks all across the defense, question marks all across the offense. Ron Rivera didn't exactly leave this team in a very good spot. And so going into the season, I said 5-win floor, 8-win ceiling. That's what we were looking at. And I mean, I'm not wrong yet. It looks like I'm going to be wrong. High probability that I'm going to be wrong, and I don't like counting the schedule, but we're going to do a little bit of that in this show too. But wasn't exactly through the roof very excited about what was going to be happening with this team. And I'm telling you right now, Jayden Daniels specifically has changed my mind. Jayden's changed everything. Jayden has absolutely changed what we've seen, what we're thinking. This offense is historic. It's not even prolific. It's historic. It's on a historic pace right now. And there's a lot of things to be feeling very good about as we go into this Week 6 matchup, Sunday, 1 p.m. with the Baltimore Ravens. And I got to start the show off with this. There has been a massive, and I mean absolutely massive comparison game happening with Jayden Daniels and the Commanders, really Jayden more than the team over the last couple of weeks. Really, since this winning streak got started, not so much the Giants game because the offense was okay in that game, wasn't great. Very clearly, that was we're happy to finally have a kicker game. But really, starting with that Cincinnati game, in regards to the streak that we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Cincinnati, we're talking about Arizona, we're talking about Cleveland, what we've seen this team do over the last 3 weeks, where it feels like Cliff Kingsbury and this offense has absolutely come alive. In those first 2 games, I'm not sure how much of that, the slow start, can be attributed to Cliff was kind of easing Jayden into it. I know we have the nice college offense comments that we've all heard and made such a big deal out of. But the reality of it is, this team starting in week 3 in Cincinnati was the coming out party for Jayden, for this offense. Brian Robinson has been astounding. Austin Eckler has been an unbelievable addition to this team. But in week 3, when you really started to see Terry get involved, I mean, not having Terry very involved over those first 2 games, obviously everyone knew that had to change. Since the beating, basically, that Washington gave Cincinnati in week 3, you have seen a very different team. And because of that, comparisons are all over the place. Chicago fans this week have, I don't know what it is with Chicago fans. They're absolutely obsessed, just obsessed with comparing Jayden to Caleb Williams. Now, don't get me wrong. It's come from both sides. We've seen Commanders fans that have, we took Jayden at 2, keep your guy at number 1, yada, yada, yada. I will say this. I said this from the beginning. I am very excited that this team did not trade this historic haul up to number 1. I don't think that Caleb Williams is ever going to be available number 1, but it's good to see grown-ups running the show and not trading the future of this team off the whim of getting a quarterback when Jayden, through 4 or 5 weeks, has played much better than Caleb Williams. Now, I will say this. Sunday, Caleb looked pretty good. Okay. I will be very honest with you. A little bit surprised that Caleb Williams did not win Rookie of the Week this week, that Jayden took it over him. Jayden Daniels, 5 games played, 4 NFL Rookie of the Weeks, or I guess Pepsi Rookie of the Weeks. Pepsi sponsoring that now. And Chicago fans are mad. These kids, I'm telling you what, this Jayden Daniels kid and the Washington Commanders are living rent-free in the minds of Chicago Bears fans all across the country. All I have seen on my timeline, and I don't even know, honestly, how these Chicago guys end up on my timeline on Twitter. All I've seen is, Jayden is getting all the hype right now. I think my favorite take was, but Caleb is doing more difficult stuff. That's the exact quote. And I'm not talking like small-time bloggers. I'm talking about Chicago media outlet people. Caleb Williams is doing more difficult and more advanced stuff than Jayden Williams. Well, you know what, Chicago? Jayden's winning. And you can be as advanced or simple as you like, but I will take a winning record over a losing record any day. Now, that said, the Bears, not that far off. They've had a couple of good weeks. Caleb is absolutely looking better than he looked during the first 2 weeks of the season. It's coming on, and I think that watching these two guys and how they grow is going to be a lot of fun. It's actually a pretty exciting time for young quarterbacks in the league. We'll see kind of how they go. I mean, it felt like this before. I remember back in 2012, RG3's rookie season. There was a lot of similar comparisons between RG3 and a on top of the world young similar play style quarterback named Colin Kaepernick that was changing the NFL in San Francisco that year. There was a ton of excitement over quarterback play in the league, and we thought that we'd have 10, 15, in some cases even 20 years worth of great quarterback play to watch. And the reality is we just didn't. Kaepernick fizzled out. The NFL figured out the pistol offense back then. And I'm not saying it's not still viable. It's absolutely still viable today. But it has not been anywhere near what we thought it was going to be. And so I would encourage everyone to understand that this Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams talk, this is early in their career. There's only one quarterback that has really sustained this style of offensive play. And it hasn't been without its hiccups, but Lamar Jackson, who I have notoriously been down on because I don't think he has very good mechanics. I don't think he's a super great thrower. I know he's had MVP seasons. I'm not taking that away from him. This is not me being a bitter fan. I just coming into that draft and watching him, I was convinced of two things. Lamar is going to get hurt, which he has been hurt at times. Not been hurt a ton, not as much as I thought, but he has been hurt at times. And I thought that the NFL is going to catch up to him the same way they've caught up to, like I said, back in the day, RG3, Colin Kaepernick, those guys. Now, in some cases, it did happen. You've seen teams play him much better in the playoffs than they do during the regular season, especially when teams have gotten a second shot at Lamar. But this kid has been everything for Baltimore. And I cannot sit here and act like Lamar Jackson has not been an all-world quarterback for several years now. It feels like it's getting close to a decade. I think it's been like 8 years, something like that. And so the point that I'm making is we're watching a young guy in Jayden Daniels who is getting all of the hype right now. I think number one selling jersey in the NFL on Fanatics for the last couple weeks. He has been prolific in every category. And to be honest with you, he's on a historic pace. The start of the season, 77.1 completion rate. I know a week ago it was in the low 80s, and that was like a stat. I think he set a stat for the highest completion rate in his first 4 games for any quarterback ever. He's already got a football sitting in the Hall of Fame. Quarterback rating of 106. This kid is real. And because he is a prolific runner and a great passer, you're going to see him being compared to guys like Lamar Jackson. You're going to see him being compared to guys like Caleb Williams for no other reason than they are taking pick number 1 and pick number 2. Okay, and this is not like back in RG3's rookie season where the Commanders were selling pick number 1 versus pick number 2 t-shirts for a preseason game. That Andrew Luck and RG3 t-shirt, I think someone needs to find that thing. There's got to be one of them on eBay somewhere. It is one of the most ridiculous marketing things I've ever seen in my entire life. I was at that game. I went to the preseason RG3 versus Andrew Luck game, and at the stadium, they were selling t-shirts that were like Andrew Luck versus RG. It's wild. Just absolutely wild. But the kid's on a historic pace, and he's being compared all over the place. Chicago fans, very mad right now. They think that Caleb should be getting all of the roses. They think that Caleb Williams should be getting all of the hype. And, Jayden so far has been the story. He's played better, and we'll see what happens to Caleb. The point that I'm making is this. We are not going to escape the Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels comparison game until one of them very clearly establishes themselves. And I think it's way too early. Guys, I mean, honestly, in 2 years, it's still probably too early. We need to see what their career does before we can jump into who is truly the better pick for Chicago to have made. Because the reality of it is this. Chicago got their guy. And I've told Chicago Twitter this, Bears fans. I've told them this over the last several weeks. For all of you that are saying, oh, I would have definitely drafted Caleb Williams over Jayden Daniels because Caleb Williams is doing more difficult stuff. It doesn't matter. You had the first pick. You didn't trade your pick. You didn't move into position to choose. You had the first pick. You took your guy. Congratulations. Enjoy it. Move on. As Caleb plays better, he's going to start getting Rookie of the Week honors. He's going to start getting noticed better. He just needs to catch up. He's going through traditional rookie things. And what is astounding with Jayden Daniels is he doesn't seem to be dealing with traditional rookie things. The guy's playing like a veteran. The biggest thing to me about Jayden Daniels has been super, super encouraging and impressive. And what has got me drinking burgundy and gold Kool-Aid right now, and I mean like a burgundy and gold Kool-Aid keg stand, is not even the stats. It's his poise. It's the fact that he does not seem to get rattled at all. You look even this last Sunday, he goes into the game. He's got record-setting completion percentage. Doesn't play super great at the front of this game. Cleveland's defense, very good. Sent all kinds of pressure at him. You could tell he was trying to deal with the pressure, but he never panics. This kid looks calm, cool, and collected always. Absolutely always. And I got to tell you, that is super, super impressive. That impresses me above the stats. It impresses me above the wins, because you can build on his pocket presence. You can build on his mental awareness and processing of the game. This is a kid that is very methodical, who's checking into plays, who's giving suggestions to the coaching staff. And I got to be honest with you, there was a time when RG3 and more his dad and his mom were giving Mike Shanahan coaching suggestions, and it felt pretty gross. There's a difference between what we're seeing in that situation and the way that Jayden Daniels has handled being on the field, going into a 4th and short situation, and aggressively and passionately yelling at the sidelines, let's go for it, because he has the confidence that his guys can get it done. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love his, here's an old-fashioned word for you, his moxie. I love what the kids would call his swag, or what my son would call his riz. Yes, Jayden Daniels absolutely has QB1 riz in the NFL in his rookie season. And for those of you guys who are boomer dads like me, I think that's actually short for charisma. So we got moxie, we got riz, we got swagger, we got all of the things. Jayden Daniels has all of it. And that's what's been the most impressive thing to me. Going into this game against Baltimore, again, obviously there's a lot of comparisons between him and Lamar Jackson, the way that their rookie season started, who I've read articles about Jayden Daniels being much more advanced than Lamar was at this point in their career. None of that matters. You know what matters on Sunday? Getting the dub. Walking out of Baltimore, whether Jayden Daniels throws for 300 yards or 75 yards, the only statistic that matters at all this Sunday is that Washington walks out with a win. And I'll be honest with you guys, it is a humongous test. Okay, I've seen craziness. I've seen the Baltimore fan on Twitter, and I can't remember his name right now. God love him. What an impassioned young fan. Great social media account. Kids like, don't compare him to 8. He's Jayden McDaniels. Jayden McDaniels, ladies and gentlemen. Jayden McDaniels. I love what the kid's saying. I actually do agree with this point. Stop comparing him to everyone. And Jayden said this in the press conference this week. I don't want to be compared to Lamar Jackson. I want to compete against Lamar Jackson. That's what you want to see. This game's going to be an absolute test. Lamar is a nightmare for our defense. And I'll tell you right now, I would expect this defense to struggle mightily on Sunday. They do not match up well with Lamar Jackson. The corners, let's stop being roses and rainbows and unicorns for a minute. The corners on this team are absolutely terrible. They're awful. I was at the Miami game. I live down here in South Florida, so I went to the Miami preseason game, and it completely blew me away. We sat up in the upper level, so we had a nice like all 11 or all 22 view, whatever you want to call it, of the field. Every single play. And it didn't matter at which level, whether it was starting, third string, whatever, on Washington or Miami. You don't see this on TV. The wide receivers for Miami never had less than a 5 to 8 yard cushion between them and the Washington defenders. They were cooking the corners so hard all night long. I was sitting in the stadium. I was screaming my lungs out. My 11-year-old son screaming his lungs out because it is unfathomable to see professional NFL starting caliber corners, if you want to call it that. If you want to say that Washington has starting caliber corners, to see them get so absolutely blown away by first, second, third, fourth. I mean, there are guys that blew Washington's corners away in that Miami game that are currently working at Chick-fil-A. They're not even on an NFL roster. They're doing whatever they can do to survive, and they absolutely destroy the corner. These corners are going to have the exact same struggle against Lamar Jackson that we've seen Jayden put other teams' corners in. It is the run pass option, and not RPO, but Jayden having the option, the run pass option blender. It's an absolute blender. I cannot even imagine what has to happen. Joe Witt Jr., God be with you this week. God be absolutely with you. And you know what? Maybe tap your boss in. Let's see what we can do to get some defensive help, all the defensive masterminds, because this defense is not a good defense. They are going to struggle. I'm having nightmares right now watching Lamar roll out and our corners coming up to try to tackle him and him tossing the ball over them to get the first down to an open receiver because the corner had to leave protection, or the corner stays on the receiver, if you want to call it that, and then Lamar is running all over the field. This game's going to end up being like a 75-73 game. They're going to have to score 100 to beat Baltimore. This is going to be high-powered offense versus high-powered offense. And I got to be honest with you, man, I don't know if I've ever been more excited. Again, the defense, not a good defense. But through the last 3-4 games, they have been good enough. And this is where I start talking against myself. Let's not sit here and pretend they didn't shut down two high-powered offenses in Arizona and Cincinnati. And in Cincinnati, I know T. Higgins was not really a factor in camp. Jamar Chase, not really a factor in camp. Clearly, the timing between Burrow and these guys was off. But, I mean, Chase still had a pretty big night that night. Joe Burrow is no slouch at quarterback. Phenomenal talent in quarterback. Maybe not as dual threat as, say, a Kyler Murray. And let's be clear, Kyler Murray did not play his game. He did not play well against Washington. I don't know why he didn't run. Maybe that's the defensive scheme. So, we'll hope for that. But this not good defense has been playing good enough to beat high-powered offenses over the last couple weeks. I mean, not Cleveland. Cleveland's god awful. They're terrible. They're nothing about Cleveland functions on the offensive side of the ball. Top 3 defense. Really excited to see how we played against that defense, but their offense, rough. It's a lot of money. $200 plus million to a guy that is mailing it in. But like I said, this defense not very good, but they've been playing good enough to beat high-powered offenses. I would think that the scheme will look similar to what we had in Arizona. Again, they shut Kyler down. He didn't run hardly at all. Still hit his receivers. Still got some shots into Harrison, who, again, I'll be honest with you, Marvin Harrison Jr. to me, going into this draft, and I still will probably die on this hill, Marvin Harrison Jr. should have absolutely been the number 1 pick in this draft going into it. Obviously, opinions are different. There's going to be a lot of people that are arguing, saying, no way, Jayden Daniels should have been the number 1 pick. But I'm saying, let's walk through what Chicago did. Okay, they had a solid quarterback in Justin Fields. Justin Fields is proving this year he was not the problem in Chicago at all whatsoever. Can you imagine the Bears having 2 top 5 picks or top 8, whatever picks they were, and being able to keep Justin Fields, take Harrison, address the offensive line, do whatever they wanted? Man, this Bears team could be rolling right now. And I'm not saying that Caleb's not going to have a great season or a great season, career, whatever the things are. Long-term, Caleb may prove out to be a wise decision. But man, it's so hard for me to not believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. should have been the first pick. He is nearly a lock, barring injury or some stupid mistake that cuts his career short, of being a Hall of Famer today. He's setting records. He's doing things. He's not been perfect, but I'm telling you, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the real deal, a true, tried and true NFL wide receiver 1. He's got the Jerry Rice in him. for you guys, he's got the Art Monk in him. He's got the ability to absolutely change the game at the wide receiver position, and I think that he will. And this bad defense played good enough to get a win over him. Again, I don't care about statistics. I don't need to completely shut Lamar Jackson down. I need to be good enough to stop Lamar Jackson from beating us. 1 point. That's what I need. One more point on Sunday than Baltimore has, and none of it matters. Jayden can throw 3 interceptions. 1 point win over the Ravens changes the conversation. Absolutely changes the conversation. I know that we got all this, well, they've only beat bad teams rhetoric. Can we talk about that? The Cardinals, bad team. Just a week ago, they beat San Francisco. San Francisco, who, while injured, is still a Super Bowl team that had a great Thursday night game last night. So let's get this bad team rhetoric kind of gone. Let's get rid of that. Okay. They beat a good Bengals team that's struggling right now. They beat a good Cardinals team who is still finding ways to win. They win in Baltimore on Sunday. It changes everything. I've seen a lot of conversations this week. My buddy Kevin Sheehan on ESPN 980, I guess it's the team. Look, I'm telling you guys, I've been out of this for a while, so some of my verbiage is not going to be absolutely up to date. But Team 980, I listen to him down here in Odyssey pretty much every day. Talking about the Super Bowl preview talk. Is Washington and Baltimore a Beltway battle Super Bowl preview? It's super early to say that, but if Washington wins on Sunday, you got to start allowing some of this conversation. And I'll be honest with you, I think that some of the national coverage of Jayden has been overhyped. Obviously, the media needs a quarterback darling. Obviously, they're going to play the second overall pick instead of first overall pick angle. They're going to do all of those things. They're going to talk their talk. But man, if they beat Baltimore on Sunday, let them talk. You can't stop the talk with a win. Look, I said this earlier, preseason, I really feel like this team was going to be a 5 to 8 win team. 5-win floor, 8-win ceiling. We are 1 win away very early in the year from me hitting my floor. Hopefully my ceiling is wrong. I've seen Sheehan say things like 10 wins. We've seen obviously we're now hard to believe they can't win 11. I mean, when's the last time that we said that about a Washington team? And Twitter has not let me forget my 5 to 8 win prediction. I get a new like, a retweet, a comment almost every single day on that post because what Jayden's doing is changing everybody's mind. And if he wins on Sunday, they're 4-1 right now. A win on Sunday makes them 5-1. And I'm just telling you, Jayden, I know that you don't want to be compared to Lamar Jackson, but if you beat Lamar Jackson on Sunday, the JD5 versus LJ8 conversation is going to absolutely explode. And if they keep winning this, the media, all they're going to do is point back to, are we going to see these two kids back in the Super Bowl? We've already seen a ton of Rookie of the Year talk for Jayden. I mean, obviously he's got 4 out of the 5 Rookie of the Week. So Rookie of the Year, I think it's a little bit premature, but obviously, but honestly, maybe it's starting to feel like a lock for him to be Rookie of the Year. Again, very early. I'm going to caution you guys. Very early. But if he wins on Sunday, I think the MVP talk gets super. I heard it last week. Jayden could be in like the last 50 years or like one of the first ever. I don't actually know the stat. I should look the stat up before the show. But is he the first Rookie of the Year and MVP, or like the second, whatever that is? You guys can correct me. I'm sure you'll correct me in the comments. Is that MVP talk real? I mean, it went on Sunday, 5-1. And again, like, I don't like looking forward on the calendar. I don't like saying like, okay, they're 5-1 and then they play who, but like, let's be very honest. This schedule is not like the total. I'm not that scared of it. This is the big one for me. We got Baltimore this week. I believe it's the Panthers. And I'm pulling the schedule up. I'm stalling while I'm pulling the schedule up. My internet's being great. Yeah, so it's Baltimore on Sunday, the Panthers on the 20th, the Bears on the 27th, the Giants on the 3rd, the Steelers on the 10th. Let's be very real. The way they're playing right now, if they can get to 5-1 on Sunday, there's no reason to believe they're not 6-1 after the Panthers. While the Bears should be a shootout, and the Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams week 9 like palooza is going to be absolutely off the hook. Going to be absolutely off the hook. They can win that game. So you could be looking at what's 5-1, 6-1, 7-1. The Giants again, game 2. Can you believe that we're going to be done with the Giants in early October or early November? Could that be a 7-1 team on a 7-game winning streak heading into the Steelers game, week 10? Could it be? I'm not sure. I'm not saying that it is. But, man, I'm also not saying that it isn't right now. You come out of the Steelers, you got Philadelphia. Guys, by the first time that we play Dallas on the 24th of November, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, this team could be already pushing to lock up the division. And Dallas is going to do what Dallas is going to do. They're a little bit up and down. I get it. But that game on the 24th could be humongous one way or the other. Now, I don't think it's realistic to act like they're only going to have one loss going into that Dallas game. That would take us 6, 7, 8, 9. They could be like 10-1. Whew, could you imagine 10-1? It's almost like 1991. And, you want to talk about comparison. And as we're changing this conversation, let's just talk about how good the start of the season has been. If they go 5-1, it is the best start they've had since before 2008. Everyone looks at that 2008 season. Jim Zorn started 6-2. Honestly, I still can't believe that. Clinton Portis before the team had an absolute started 6-2, and then ends up going 2-6 to finish the season at 8-8. The wheels fell off hard that season. But the best start this team has had since 1991, when they are 11-0 going into their Dallas game in late November. Took their first loss of the season against Dallas to go 11-1. This is the kind of offense that we're talking about, guys. This offense is dragging the defense behind them. They don't have to be a good defense. They've just got to be a good enough defense. And I'll be honest with you, all you former extremeskins.com people, look, you'll remember this. Palofs is now one of the greatest Washington Redskins threads of all time. Not playoffs, Palofs is now. If they beat the Ravens on Sunday, everything changes. 5-1 this Sunday, very likely to be 6-1 going into that game against Chicago. Can you imagine a 6-1 team? 6-1 Jayden Daniels going against whatever Caleb Williams' record is. Man, if you think Chicago fans are mad right now, whew, wait till you hear the Chicago fans, see the Chicago fans, when all of the hype for the Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams game is the fact that Jayden Daniels is better than Caleb Williams. Chicago fans are going to lose their absolute minds. They're going to lose their absolute minds. Again, like I said, best start since 2008. That season, I got to be honest with you, started eerily similar to this season. Week 1 loss to the Giants, who were a playoff team that year, followed by 4 straight wins. They were 4-1 in 2008 going into week 6. 4-1. They lost that week 6 game, made them 4-2. Then they won the next 2 games, made them 6-2. I can see that happening. I mean, obviously this Ravens team, let me be very clear. This is not a guaranteed win on Sunday. There's nothing about this game on Sunday that's a guaranteed win at all. To be honest with you, this is as David and Goliath as I can remember. But man, David's got the momentum right now. All I'm saying is this. They beat Baltimore. Everything changes. Narrative changes. My thought process, my position on this team, it completely and totally changes. I'm telling you what right now, man. Burgundy and gold Kool-Aid keg stand. Like I said, you walk out of Baltimore Sunday afternoon with a win. And if you are a fan of literally another team in the NFL, do not even approach me or talk to me, because I'm going to be absolutely miserable. So what do they got to do? How do they win this game on Sunday? Consistency is the key, man. JD5 has got to keep being JD5. There's a lot of talk on social media this week about Cam Newton giving Jayden Daniels advice. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. The advice that Cam gave Jayden was fantastic advice. I don't love it coming from Cam Newton. I'm not a huge fan of Cam Newton at all. But you can't argue that that guy, man, he had some unbelievable success in his career. Guy was an absolute monster. And I know this. humility is a lot more important than people give you credit for. My daughter, she's playing high school volleyball, and I know obviously it's not the NFL. She's not a pro. But during her season, she was going through some issues where she was just playing with a lack of confidence. And I told her, I said, Bella, when you walk on that court, you should internally be the most arrogant, believe in yourself, no one can stop me mindset of all time. But to everyone that sees you, you should be absolutely humble. Look, when it's time to talk your talk, talk your talk. And Jayden Daniels right now, you can talk that talk. And I hope that you continue to play with the confidence that you've been playing with, the consistency that you've been playing with, that moxie, that riz, that swagger, whatever it is that you want to say, that charisma. But don't make the game bigger than it is. Jayden's got unbelievable legs. He seems to have an unbelievable arm. But for me, he's got that key piece. It's not even an intangible. We say it's an intangible because we can't measure it. But the thing that made Tom Brady unbelievable, and here I go comparing. We've been talking about comparison all podcast long, comparing Jayden now to Tom Brady. Completely different style quarterback. Completely not even close. But the thing that gave Tom Brady the extended success that he had was not his physical skills. I mean, look at the guy's combine picture. It's hilarious. Dad bod 101. It was worse than dad bod. It's like nerd bod. He didn't have the physical tools. He didn't have a cannon. He had a good enough arm. But he could mentally process the game, and he understood the game, and he could play chess when everyone else was playing checkers. Jayden Daniels, come for the runs, come for the bombs, the arm power, stay for the processing and the quarterback IQ. The fact that this game looks slow. It's so funny. I was telling my buddy, they were beating, whether it was Cincinnati or Arizona. They're just moving the ball downfield. And I said, as a fan of this team that has struggled and suffered through years and years and years of pitiful offensive football. Do you know how excited I should be to watch this team? To watch Jayden Daniels escape two defensive ends trying to sack him in Cleveland last week early in the game, roll out to the right and hit a 60-plus yard bomb to Terry streaking downfield. You know how excited I should be? It is so routine and so ho-hum. It gets boring. It gets boring to watch Jayden Daniels process the game. And here we go. Here's another 8-minute drive. Here's another 5-minute drive. Here's another, 70-yard, 12-play, 80-yard, 12-play, 80% completion rate. Let's not kid ourselves. We saw one of the most unbelievable stats in the history of football obtained by Jared Goff 2 weeks ago. Perfect completion on the game and received quarterback caught a touchdown pass. He had more touchdown receptions as a quarterback than he had incomplete passes. 18 for 18, I think that it was. You know what's funny? I think Jayden could throw a perfect game. He processes the game in such a way he could throw a perfect game. I could see 100% completion rate out of this kid. And honestly, based off what we've seen so far, Monday Night Football in front of the whole world where they're supposed to fail and get embarrassed, they slaughtered the Giant. That Cincinnati game was not as close as Cincinnati wants you to believe. Cincinnati basically a blowout. Arizona a blowout. Cleveland such a blowout. Jayden Daniels won Rookie of the Week. He did not even play the fourth quarter. Like a preseason game, got benched in the fourth quarter to rest and ready up for the mighty Baltimore Ravens. Again, guys, I'm just telling you, a win on Sunday, man. A win on Sunday and everything changes. Look, I just want to thank you guys for joining me here for the first episode. It's like season 1 all over again of the Son of Washington podcast. We brushed the dust off. We're knocking off the ring rust. We're getting back into it. My name's Ray Smith. You can follow me on Twitter, on social media at This Is The Ray. This has been the Son of Washington podcast. We got a big game coming for us this Sunday. So fight on. Let's see if they can win all of Washington, Sons of Washington. left hand up, whatever it is you have to say. Let's go Commanders. Let's go Jayden Daniels. Let's see if we can go into Baltimore on Sunday and take that win and change the narrative.